Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday night segment here on the Outer Realm, February the 3rd, 2022. I have to start time stamping these things. It gets a bit confusing when we start getting hundreds in. We're broadcasting live right here on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans, which I'm sure is a lot freaking warmer than what it is over here right now. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, who have been instrumental in keeping us at number one for as long as they have. So thank you. It would not be the same without you. Also, a huge thank you to Dr. Snick, aka the sonic surgeon Justin Snicker, an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. Thank you for the gift of your voice and your music for the intro and the outro. Tonight, we are really excited to present to you Truth Seekah. I hope I said that right because I love saying it. And he's going to be touching on all kinds of things: paranormal, esoteric knowledge, ET, you name it, he's on it. It's going to be a fantastic segment. In order to do so, however, you have to hit us up on one of our 8 platforms. So we're going to be on, of course, UFO Paranormal, which is going to be on YouTube and, of course, Facebook. Is going to be Canada's Most Haunted, The Outer Realm, of course, International Public Radio, the usual. I believe we're on Twitch. I don't even recall. News on the Flip Side, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, and I'm pretty sure that we've hit them all. Now, news alert, as mentioned, for those of you who may have missed it, on the UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio YouTube channels. Not only can you subscribe, but now, of course, there's a members only section. So if you're looking to get any extra stuff, and believe me, there's going to be a lot of extra stuff. I know the Gray Zone Uncensored that Joe and I do can only be found there. And a lot of the hosts on the network are going to be putting in special content that you will only be able to get as a member. So bear that in mind. So with that being said, I see the chat room is filling up with Wayne, Janie, Michelle. Hello. Wow, this is great. Chat room always does really well here. So Amelia, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Wow, same.
There's a lot of snow outside.
There's a lot of snow, and it's been, very busy day. Yeah. So, but otherwise, what are you going to do? You hunker down and do what you have to do.
Yeah, it seemed clear for a while, and then I just took a peek outside just before coming on, and I couldn't believe the roads were covered again. And where we live, our roads are actually clean first. And it's disturbing when you see them that way.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. It can be very disturbing. We're being buried. So aside from that, it's not much fun.
But it's February. It's Southern Ontario. This is normal. I'm up north. They have it a lot worse than we do. So we're grateful.
I will take that.
Yeah.
So I know we have our guest in the green room.
Yes, we do. I have a quick bio for him.
We like those. Get right down to business that way.
Yeah. A Christian mystic, Amazon bestselling author, visionary artist, and seer. A songwriter who has released over 200 songs, each one relating to spirituality. His journey has brought him through research and experience with the occult, paranormal, Christian mysticism, ufology, and the spirit realm. This has led him to many mystical encounters with God, angels, spirits, and other spiritual beings. Please
Mm.
welcome Truth Seekah to the show.
Hello.
Here we
Hey
go.
guys.
Again.
Again, hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, God, it is our pleasure. It is our pleasure. Like I said, Micah really, really spoke highly of you. So we've been excited ever since, but we book a little bit in advance, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunate, but it is if you're waiting. Just yeah, reading over the bio and perused your website. It's just got so much stuff on it. I don't even know where to start. So what I'll do, because you'll notice there's very round table, most of the talking will be done by you, as it should be. So why don't we just start out with humble beginnings and just how the heck did you get to where you are today? So you lead the conversation and we'll jump in.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So I started out, I can trace a lot of pivotal moments in my life back to weird encounters. And so one of the first ones happened when I was very young, 4 years old. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and being pinned to my bed by these two big shadow beings laying on each side of my chest. And so having that happen at an early age lit something within me to ask bigger questions as a teenager and going to sleepovers and slumber parties with friends and cousins and things like that. And we tell ghost stories, but I'd always try to find a way to weave that in and ask people if they've ever heard of anything like that or seen anything. And when we would go rent movies and stuff for the weekend, I would always get thrillers and horror movies and supernatural movies because I knew that something existed. So that experience marked me as a kid and shifted the direction of my life, I believe, and started getting into some of the darker occult stuff as a teenager and misguided youth and finding any type of witchcraft book that I can find. And usually it was the Necronomicon and then Satanism and some Wicca stuff, and then mixing it all together and tapping into that as an adolescence. Ended up having an encounter at a prayer meeting. My mom was living with this man who had a son who was like an older brother type for me, and he would always ask me to come to church with him. Never wanted to go, but he asked me to come to a prayer meeting. It's like, I'm not trying to go to that. I'm into all the darker stuff, He said, well, you need to come to the prayer meeting because you'll like it. There's going to be a prophet there. I said, well, what's a prophet? He said, a prophet's kind of like a Christian psychic. I was like, okay, that sounds cool for sure. I'll go. So I ended up going to this little prayer meeting at somebody's apartment, and it was foreign to me, but there was playing worship music, this really beautiful singing music, singing praises to God. And there was just people packed in this apartment, sitting down, standing up there everywhere. But people were praying and they had their eyes closed and their hands raised and crying. And it looked like they were in another realm. Like
Wow.
I'm sitting in this room and I'm like, it was a beautiful bliss, this beautiful presence there. And somebody comes and sits on the couch next to me and says, hey, Derek, would you like to ask Jesus to forgive you of your sins? I was 13 and I'm thinking like, I don't want him not to forgive me, right? Sure. Like, yeah, I want him to forgive me. So, okay, well, just pray after me. And he just leads me on this Christian prayer of thanking God for sending his son, Jesus, to die on the cross and ask him into my life and to forgive me and that kind of thing. And I prayed it and I meant it. And when I prayed it, this beautiful energy that I felt in the room came into me. And it felt like this beautiful fire that entered in through the top of my head and went through my whole body. And I started trembling and shaking really bad. And I started to get really hot and burn with this fervent heat. And I'm weeping. And I felt like that fire was like destroying any bad that I had ever done, any lie that I had ever told, any hurt, any curses that were spoken against me by family members, and anything that I have ever done. It was like I felt like maybe a new person. It was this beautiful, blissful experience. So that happened at 13. And I did the Christian thing for a couple months.
Very
Because I was
profound.
in a new town. And that's all I knew was Christians, But then I got into school and immediately fell back into, getting into the wrong crowds and getting back into the old music, and eventually got back into the occult and the dark side. And so studying that, I met a warlock who would teach us all types of spells and rituals, and I would pick his brain for hours. And he would tell me stories about interactions with demons and these spirits that would come to him, and he'd summon them. And I'm just intrigued because I know that this stuff is real. Like, I had the encounter when I was 4. But long story short, a lot of stuff ended up happening, but I ended up moving to New Orleans, Hammond, Louisiana, and getting really deep into the witchcraft there. And I was living a lifestyle that wasn't conducive to what is required to operate in between the realms. I'll say that. And so I was robbing people, using drugs, lying, cheating, stealing, all of that mixed with occultism and witchcraft, and trying to summon entities. I would do all of these meditations. I would do all the spells and enchantments from all of the books that we got from stealing them from the store. I steal the books and then do the enchantments. None of them worked until a couple months later. They all worked at the same time. And I ended up like going schizophrenic at like 15, and I'd be sitting on the couch, and these spirits would open a portal and pull my consciousness in, and I'm seeing shapes and colors and spirits and faces all at the same time, like all of them at once, trying to talk to me in foreign languages and screaming. And I'm frozen. I can't breathe. I turn pale and my heart's racing, and I just snap out of it. Like, oh my God, what was that? What was that? And I come back, and I was trying to explain to my girlfriend what happened. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. And that kept happening. Like at their will, they would able to open up some portal, pull me in, and try to communicate with me. And I had no idea. It was like they found a willing vessel. We found a conduit. So I ended up going insane. Like I couldn't go out in public. Couldn't look people in the eye. I knew like heightened senses of ESP. I knew things about everybody. I knew past lives. I knew what they were thinking. And I had no lid. And it was just insanity. And so I had to stay inside, and eventually my health started to go downhill. I was ending up coughing up blood and seeing shadows running through the house at night, and hearing stuff banging on the walls. And it was wild. So me being a Christian just a few years before, I remembered that bliss. I remembered that peace and that grace and that love and that tranquility that I found, that I knew existed somewhere. And so me being at rock bottom, I ended up telling my girlfriend that, listen, I need to get my stuff together. I'm losing my mind.
To find your way back.
If I talk to a doctor, they're gonna put me in a mental institution and put me on medicine. And so, but I remember that peace. And so I got her to pray with me one night after I had a bad spell. And I woke up the next morning feeling better. And literally I threw everything away. All of the stuff on the altars, the posters, the t-shirts, the music, all of that stuff. Got rid of it. I said, I need to get my life back right with God. She's freaking out. You know,
of course.
Throwing everything that we own away, and what are you doing? I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I cannot live like this. And I'm getting my life back right with God. And you can either do it with me, or you can go live with your mom, go move back in with your mom and dad. And she's like, I don't believe in Jesus. How are you going to make me believe in something I don't believe in? I said, listen, if we can believe in these fairies and the imps and the gods and the goddesses and pain, if we can believe in all that, you can try it. You can try to believe in Jesus. I said, just give it a week. And if our lives isn't 100% better within a week, then I'll follow and serve whatever devil, demon, God you want, because I was just that confident. I ended up opening up the phone book and calling all the churches, like 15 churches, leaving messages on the answering machine saying, I'm demon possessed. I need somebody to pray with me. One church called me back in Hammond. And the pastor ended up coming to the house and praying with me. And that was in September of 2000. And so kind of been on this journey ever since of
long time
switching over back into the light side, and so I did the Christian experience for so many years, and then my studies got a lot deeper, and ended up really coming full circle to go back to psychic abilities and ESP, but approach it with light and with love and with honesty and with humility, the way that it's supposed to be approached. So
Exactly.
that's who I am in a nutshell. So
because you find that a lot of, like, do you find this being Christian? Because I mean, a very good friend of mine was a Christian minister out of North Carolina, but he was also a theologian. So he was very educated and wasn't so fearful. He believed in ESP. He believed in being gifted. And I mean, they had their own team of people who would do deliverances. They went all over the world to do it. And I was made privy to one of these deliverances where they spoke in tongues. It was I'd never heard it before. So when they started doing it, I didn't know how to react, because she goes, it's going to sound like gibberish. Don't panic. I'm like, I'm okay with gibberish. It's all right. And she started, and honestly, a place that had been infested for literally over a year, within, a couple of hours, and it was an experience and a half. But I find Christian people who I've assisted in the past, couple of decades, they don't think you should have anything to do with any of that stuff.
yeah.
Do you get any resistance from? Yes.
From a lot, tons.
Really?
But I mean, it's changing. The tides are turning. Like, this is becoming. People have questions that aren't being answered. People are born with supernatural abilities and giftings that are from God,
Yes.
that are actually in the Bible, and they've read over it and they say, well, that's done away with, and that's not real anymore. And it's like, no, it is. So my work is to show you the occult, the esoteric, the mysticism, the communing with angels, the demons that come into your life to teach you a lesson if you open yourself up to them, and how everything kind of serves a purpose for the greater good, and taking all of that stuff back that they kind of got rid of. So yeah, I get a lot of resistance to talking about the third eye and these psychic abilities and ESP and all of that, which is from Genesis to Revelation, all throughout the Bible. Jesus did it. His disciples did it, and all of that. So it's beautiful. I love it. And yeah, it makes a lot of religious people mad, but a lot of people are waking up. I get messages every day from people who are just thanking me, and their lives are changed because they've been told that these beings in their home were demonic and their ancestors who were visiting them are demons. And it's like, no, I don't think it is. And I'm going to give you scriptures that show you that they are here watching over you, and they have a message. And so this work is radically changing people's lives. I'm just so blessed to be a conduit for it.
Because that's a big thing. Like, born again Christians don't believe in the spirit realm. They believe that all of these energies are demonic entities.
Yeah.
Then you have the Buddhists that don't believe in them at all.
Yeah, the other way.
Well, what I found and what I'm finding, and I think a lot of us are, is that everything exists.
Yeah.
Anything that you can imagine, anything that you can fathom, when we're talking about the fairies and Pan and the gods and goddesses and demons and angels, and you just keep using your imagination. Everything you've seen in the movies, everything you've seen in Lord of the Rings, that exists now or existed at some point. And the universe works in such a way that whatever you believe in, whatever you're looking for, shows itself to you. So when we're talking about what is real and what is created and these beings, everything exists. And so it opens up this whole new realm of, let's make sure that we're focusing on good stuff. Let's make sure that we're trying to help people, and we're not, conjuring dark entities to get hidden secrets. Let's, there's like a right way and a wrong way to do a lot of this stuff,
I agree with you. I think that people feel very, especially as a young person, because I mean, I've been there. I started out also, my educating myself was in darkness, but I also believe in balance between, light and darkness, because I work in light, and people automatically make the assumption that, well, you work in darkness. Well, if you want to achieve, let's say a clearing, you have to sort of walk through that darkness, but essentially you're the light. You carry the light. And it's amazing to me the people that just don't get that concept. It's like, oh, you work with demons. Yes, not with. There's a difference. Not with, but they just, it's really difficult for some people to grasp. But I find young people are very intrigued by the occult and the darkness. And the more, I guess, as an adult, we can say, yes, we've studied it, and you're getting into esoteric stuff. Like, it's really deep. Like, it's not what people think it is to some
Well,
degree.
it is what people think it is.
Is it? Okay. So,
Whatever you think it is, it becomes that.
okay. Okay.
If you think that demons don't exist and angels don't exist, you're probably not going to see them. But if you approach it with the
Okay.
awe and wonder, you say, I think they exist. I think they're out there. I had an encounter when I was 4.
Right.
Maybe I can have it. Maybe I can do it again. There's a
Okay.
right way and a wrong way. So yeah, with the consciousness thing, that everything shows itself to you. But if you shut yourself off, it becomes a lot harder for you to tap into that stuff. So that's what I mean by it is what you say it is. If you say it's
Right.
lovely, if you say it's beautiful, if you say it's good, then it is. Like, interest. The Bible is one of the most mystical, esoteric books ever created. I love it. But one of the things that the ability God gave Adam, and I don't mean any of this literal. I'll just let you know that
Of
the
course.
stories are written that way, but there's power in them. But he had the ability to name things. And he said,
Right.
whatever you name it, it will become that.
Right.
That's a cow. I'm gonna call that a cow. That's a
Right.
tiger. That's a tree. And God said, okay, yes, it becomes that. Same thing with us, the power that we have as sons and daughters of the Creator, as little gods ourselves. Whatever we call something, it becomes that. Even if it's just to us in our world, in our imagination, it is our reality. And we put things in boxes. And the problem with that, going back to these people you're referring to, is that they have a misconstrued vision. They don't see things the way that they are. They see things the way that they are, whether it's hurt, whether it's trauma, whether it's they don't
Fear, maybe.
fear. Even mentioning Christian and in the Bible, like that turns so many people off. Or even using the word God, it's like. But I'm like, hold on. There's beauty in that trauma. Let's find out where that trigger comes from, kind of thing.
Can I just be a little bit of a devil's advocate? No pun intended.
Pardon the pun. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's ignore the pun, because the work that Michelle and I do together often isn't always because somebody's inviting something in. What do you have to say for, let's say, the people who all of a sudden are seeing demons and have never believed in any of this stuff, but just happen to find themselves in that kind of place? It doesn't fit with it's going to be what you think it is kind of theory for them. A lot of people that we help are like, I never believed in this stuff. I can't believe how tormented I was. Or they think it's okay for their kids to make all kinds of invitations. They think it's a joke until it affects them. These are people that never believed in it before.
Right. Yeah. So again, it still has the ability to show itself to you because of activity that was probably done on the land, something that the parents did. I mean, I was an innocent 4-year-old. Like, why would these beings come in my room and lay on top of me? And I look back at the type of lifestyle that my mother and father were living, radical parties, shooting heroin, crack addicts coming up. I mean, just whoever, all of these people with energies and persona coming in and out of our home. I remember talking to a man when I was around that age, 4. They were having a party. I'm talking to this random old man at the table, and he falls straight backward and passes out. And they pick him up and walk him out the door. So this was like the energy that was going on in the atmosphere. So this type of things that you let in your home, I mean, it's not too far out of the realm of possibilities. Of some energy is going now is lingering off of some of these people who are tapping into heroin and drug addiction and whatever type of life that they live and what they carry is now lingering once everybody's gone. and visiting the kids in the bedroom.
I understand that. I'm not trying to create an argument. I'm trying to have an understanding of, you said that people will see what they want to see. They'll see what they think it is. If they're shut down to demons, they're not going to see demons. I know for a fact there's a lot of people who see demons who've been shut down to them their entire lives. Like, how does that fit?
Yeah. So that I mean, that's why I was trying to tie that in. Like, I didn't believe in demons at 4 years old, and I saw
you
them.
Didn't even know about them. Yeah.
Exactly.
But an adult will shut themselves off, you know?
Yeah, they could still have encounters. They can still have experiences. So now this whole unraveling and unfolding in our work and this art is to try to articulate and figure out what it is. And again, it still becomes what we call it. So I get messages every day as well. Truth Seekah, I woke up and there was a being standing at the edge of my bed. What was it? And I could eat, and they're ready to hang on any word that I tell them. I could have said it's a demon. I could say it's an angel, it's an ancestor, and their revelation of what that is and how to, what I should do. Should I bind it in Jesus' name and command it to leave? Or should I say, do you have a message for me? And so whatever I say, whatever they believe, that thing becomes that. Now, it doesn't mean that's exactly what it is, but in their world, in their reality, yeah, it's what they perceive. Yes. So again, it's the exploration. So what I do in that situation, especially if I'm not there, I say, you have to figure out what it is. You have to ask it its name. You have to see if it's good or bad or that kind of thing, versus, me projecting something into it and say, well, that's a demon, stay away, which is what most people would do. Or it's an alien grade, come to kidnap you or something. It's like, whatever I project to them, it would become that in their realm of thinking. Yeah, so that's what I mean by that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think first off, media doesn't help.
No.
Television does not help. I think, like, in my world, for the last 2 decades of my life of dealing with a lot of people who have had attachments or believed that they had attachment, did not necessarily have attachments, but something is leading them to think that there's something in their space. But communicating is a way of initiating an invitation to communicate. And sometimes if you are dealing with demonics, they take that pretty darn seriously. So that's always an area I've tried to, I guess, tread cautiously with. And the same with grace. Like, some people have horrific experience with grace. I've never had a bad experience with grace. Well, mind you, that I know of. Scrub your brain, you don't know. But on an average, I don't recall, let's put it that way, having any bad experiences with them. Yeah. So I don't know what happens if you say yes to an individual. Go ahead and ask it what it wants or who it is. Are you taking that chance, or is that person taking a chance that they might be initiating communication with something that maybe they shouldn't, or maybe they should?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's the free will aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where you have to come upon your own volition, your own free will. I mean, you mentioned the grays and then before that, you mentioned television.
Yes.
I grew up on alien movies. I grew up on like this, like some of the good ones, there's a couple, but most of them were scary. Most of them were, you get taken away, fire in the sky, and you don't see your family again, and they run tests on you. And so I was terrified of aliens when I was little.
Right.
But in my studies with lights in the sky and starting to see them, starting to find interesting texts within the Bible, and then going out and seeing them, like, there was that cognitive dissonance of, okay, one of them's coming down really close to your house. Like, I want it. Yes, I want it. But then it's there, and it's like, oh no, like that implanted fear of you're fixing to get abducted and never come back, and those things. So I
your
remember
instinct kicks in, right?
Yeah,
so when you're a kid,
but how bad do you want it? How bad do you believe it? Like, I mean, how many people's stories stop there? Yeah, man, that scared me. Never again. They came down really low. Listen, I went back out under the stars, meditating, asking for a sighting, and that's me believing that it was possible, I've
Mhm.
seen, I've been privy to amazing things that have just blown my mind.
Mhm.
Stars opening up and lights coming out of stars and traveling, a
Mhm.
fleet of what we would call UFOs of like 80 lights in the sky.
Mhm.
During the day, I started seeing them everywhere. They started communicating telepathically with downloads as they would appear and tell me to look at a certain part of the sky and watch that cloud. Here I am. And it would come out. And I mean, what is it? But you have to come, you have that first encounter, but it's like, do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep
Right.
going? And you got to wrestle and
Right.
kind of get over that fear of like, these are alien grays to like, hold on. I'm kind of unlearning that. And I started staying away from those movies. Like there were other abduction movies that came out, and
Right.
this was maybe 2010 or something like that, 2011, 12.
Right.
And there were other abduction movies that came out that were really big. And people, have you seen it? I said, no, I'm not watching them because
Mhm.
I'm going out under the open sky and these ships are appearing to me
And
on,
it's messing with your perception of
yeah.
what, or maybe it's ruining your experience because it's could be completely opposite of
Well,
what the
there's
experience is.
the fear too of like, because I mean, that
Yeah.
fear is there,
Yes.
but there's the fear, but there's the beauty of what if that's my great great grandmother that's watching over me, but what if it's a demon? So then you have to say, hey, who are you?
Mhm.
There's the idea of, I've heard different ministers say that Christians will wake up and see that in their room and they'll rebuke it. In the name of Jesus, I command you to leave. And it goes. So
Right.
they'll say alien grays leave. They'll say that demons leave and ghosts pretending to be ancestors leave and all of that. But to get a little bit deeper, it's like they have to obey you. Like you have authority. This
Mhm.
is your home. And so when you speak it, so a lot of people are rebuking or casting out what it could be an angel from God that carries a message, and
Mhm.
you thought it was a demon because it didn't look like what you thought an angel looked like, which is the term just means a messenger.
That's right. I mean, media again projects images into your head. If you're not intuitive, that is, you wouldn't know. If you're intuitive and you have the gift of sight, you would know pretty much what's there. Do you find that, and I'm not ditzing on religion, but I just know that people who are very faithful to whatever religion, you just tend to work within the boundaries of that faith. Do you think it hinders people from really
Both.
what's exploring what's out there?
I think both.
Yeah.
I think it, the word religion means to bind or to hold back. And we know some
Mhm.
people need limitations, they need structure, they need some kind of modality,
Mhm.
because they haven't learned to, to balance the energy or learn devotion and things like that. So I
Mm.
think it can be used for good and for bad. There's some people who, I guess what I try to bring is to show those people who are operating within that confines that there's more within it that you didn't even know. And some of these things that you ruled out, UFOs, lights in the skies. Now,
Mm.
obviously the word UFO isn't in the Bible, but the word chariot is. So maybe talking to those people, you kind of got to use their language to kind of
Yeah, the
Mhm.
win them over.
vernacular. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
because what I do on like a public scale, I use all the language. I love all of it. And it gives you a different
Right.
aspect of the same stuff we're talking about. And so I get in trouble, and you're a new ager or you mentioned chakras and that word's not in the Bible, but I can teach you chakras in the Bible. But first you got to believe that your body is a temple and that there were
Mhm.
7 golden candlesticks within the temple, and
Mhm.
and that's a spiritual representation of your body. So if we kind of build off of that, right, all of this is in there, but the
Mhm.
cognitive dissonance holds them back
Mhm.
until somebody is a seeker and they want it, and they're open to, wow, it is in there. Wow,
Mhm.
let me go out under the open sky too and ask for an angel to appear and see
Mhm.
what happens. And people are doing it, and they're it's opening up the world of these beautiful,
Mhm.
portals and things in their life, and it's amazing. So
Can I ask you a question? I'm curious because I see angels and I'm curious to know how do they appear to you? when you have these encounters?
So the ones that have been like in the sky, in the open sky, have usually been just lights, like balls of lights or morphing lights. Some of them look, more traditional of what we'll call like a UFO, like a cigar-shaped object or whatever, orbs, things like that. I've seen a lot. So that's been like the under the sky, just in prayer and just watching and asking and waiting for like hours until something happens, and then initiating that, and then maybe it happens later in the day. But so there's that part, which and those are like physical, like they're physically there, like I've had multiple people with me who see them too.
Yeah.
But we've had, me and my daughter, when she was younger, we went into the backyard, and I would take her out there, and we'd stargaze, and I'd say, we're looking for angels. Let's look for angels. And we'd just be stargazing, and I'm trying to like see a sighting.
Yeah.
It does something. It does something inside of you when you see it. It's like, wow,
The
it's
energy.
real. It's there.
Yeah.
So we actually built a fairy house a couple of days before in the ground, and just made this little hole and put furniture in there and a little house and sticks and stuff. So we're looking up for the angels to fly by or to come down. And all of a sudden, out the top of the forest, in the trees behind our home, these little blue fluorescent bulbs came out of the trees like a movie, swirling around as a bunch of little ones. And I like jokingly said, "Oh, look at the fairies." And they come around like a movie, and they swirl around me and my daughter, these blue fluorescent things that are about 2-3 inches wide. And they go around us, and it's like a movie. It's like, oh my God. And they go back up into the trees where they came, and they disappear. Like these blue little light beings, like,
Right.
everything is real. Like everything, can take a form and show itself to you. And so there's so much more. Some people see things in the spirit. I've sensed some things like spiritually there, but there's something about me. I love when they pop into our realm. I love when I've had demons, or we'll call them demons. They don't call themselves demons. Let's get that straight. I use that a lot with Christendom, but elementals that physically show up.
Yes.
And but this one was summoned by a warlock. But when things pop into our reality, so that's why I love the paranormal, because you have, or ufology, because something is traveling and making itself known here. I believe we do that when we dream. I believe we do that when we pray, and that. But there's something special whenever they pop into our world, and we see them or catch them on camera or something.
Oh, I think you'd have people disagree with you. I don't think it's special at the end of my bed in the middle of the night. So
it's like, it was an honor, though. You know what I'm saying? It's
is it? If something's coming in there and just trying to wreak havoc in your space, I don't know.
Well, I think it depends on how you respond. You have, like, if it leaves you broken, if it scares you, you're afraid of the dark. But like, I'm called into this work. I'm doing what I'm doing now because of an invasion of my privacy at 4. So that now, of something I used to pray against my demons and try to rebuke them, but now there's a namaste. Hey man, thank you. Thank you for showing me that you exist. Thank you for showing me that there's more to life than what you can see, touch, taste, and hear. That something exists. I know you might have meant me harm. I don't even know. Like, that could have been an angel. I don't know. It definitely had a message, and it changed my life. So it's just looking at things differently. And I think if we change the way we look at them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about a lot of, the names of demons that, let's say, that like Catholicism teaches you, this demon or this demon, this demon, how many of those were actually known as pagan gods, not demons at all? Yeah.
Well, that was the thing too. I'll tell you this. So I just found this out, and things are getting weird right now. Like, I don't know what's happening. Not just for me, for everybody. Things are getting strange. But
no kidding.
so the entity that appeared to me that looked like that I said it was a demon, but it was like an elemental spirit that a
Right.
warlock summoned on me. I stole something from him. He went and conjured and did a spell, a protection spell, and to come pay me a visit.
Right.
And if I wouldn't have stole, I wouldn't have had to deal with that thing. But that thing kind of had a
lesson.
right to me. So
Right.
it appeared out of nowhere. It looked like an 8-foot tall camel. It was a huge shadow. It appeared, it ran by me and my cousin, knocked us both to the ground, screamed, vanished into thin air. You know, and for the dealing with the craft and stuff as a teenager, you think that would scare somebody, but I was like, that was cool, man. I need to learn how to, even though my life went to shambles, like I wanted to know.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I just found out about the saints in Catholicism and stuff. And from the Protestant side, we've been told that those were our enemies and the Catholics aren't like us and stuff. And so the very thing that we've taught were our enemies is the very thing that God or spirit uses to teach you and to show there's gems hidden over there. And I found out my birthday just passed, January 17th.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I was led to look up the patron saints. And so I was led to Saint Teresa of Avila. I mean, she had so many mystical experiences. She was levitating and angels were appearing to her, just so many beautiful mystical experiences. But on my birthday, I looked up who was the patron saint for my birthday. And I found out it was a guy by the name of Saint Anthony of Egypt. Oh. And I just did a little digging into his life. And he died on my birthday. And then I read his story, and he was approached by beings that were half horse and half man, like a centaur type being. Yeah. And they came and like brought messages to him. And I've never heard anybody talk about this camel or horse type being that appeared. So I'm reading his story, and he's dealing with satyrs, right? With satyrs or so-called demonic beings. But he said that in conversation he had with the satyr, it wasn't negative. He said, hey, these people in this town are worshiping me. I worship God, and these people are worshiping me. And so he goes into the town and says, hey, why are you worshiping this creature? He doesn't want you to worship him. He says, worship God, the same God that he worships. And so really interesting stories that are embedded within the lives of these saints, something that they carry. But
it falls into mythology, where you hear about Greek mythology and the centaurs and the minotaur and all of every little bit of myth is believed stems from something somewhere in time. Again, would you think extraterrestrial? Would you think interdimensional being? We have our own cryptids and things of that nature that we see here. How many of those, because they're of our time, but back in the day, a centaur would have been very prevalent in that time period.
Even Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Hercules, that kind of time.
That
Pegasus, Medusa, it's all that same.
Pegasus, one that I just found out recently, and I know Micah Dank's really into a lot of this too, but Jesus talks about the light a lot, the light. And the word that he uses for light in the Greek is phosphorus. And phosphorus was a Greek god of the light, that was a carrier of the light, which is where we get the Lucifer idea of being a light bringer, light bearer. Right. Yes. And so, all of this stuff comes from somewhere else. To think that, it is, again, going back to it is what we say it is, because to those people, it's like, no, it's not an alien gray, it's your ancestor. No, it's an alien gray, they're coming to abduct us. No, I've talked with them, and it's your ancestor, and they're coming from the future or coming from the past, and they look like a silhouette of a human. They don't have any features. No. To them, there's nothing you could say to like change their mind. So it becomes, that's what I mean by it becomes what we say it is,
How can people get their head around the fact that how we look now and Grace could very well be us in the future?
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but those of us who study that sort of thing, we have a better You know, I'll tell you, I remember doing a ghost box session one time, just testing out a piece of equipment, and these beings came through, and I'm like, who are you? Where are you? You are us. We'll just leave that right there, because that could be a whole other realm of possibilities. Where do you even go with it? We are one. That
Interdimensional.
was it. We are one was
Yeah.
what they said right after that.
Yeah, it gets to act like we're experts on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is
I-
prideful. Now we got
too.
we're pretty sure of some stuff,
Yeah.
but to say as a matter of fact, that's what it was, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Again, things are getting weird. Things are getting real weird, and who we are,
Mhm.
where we exist somewhere in outer space, in the heavens, in the planets, and we're just
Mhm.
an avatar of many ideas that are personifications here on.
Yes.
I don't know, but there's some really interesting information that we're unlocking. And it goes back to the ancients again, because most of them knew something similar. The Greeks believed that, you know,
Mhm.
we are, you know, emanations of the planets that are here. You
Yes.
know, astrology and how the planets are moving affect
Mm.
literally your life and your cycles, and the, you know, the moon and the Sabbaths, and how they honored and venerated these planets and these spheres, and they looked at them as deities, as living
Yes.
entities that would communicate and guide, and
Mhm.
I really believe that we should return back to those ways, and there was something that we've lost, you know, as we move into the technological
Mm.
age. I think we need to keep our feet on the ground and continue to gaze at the stars and bathe in the ocean and do grounding and burn sage and remember the spiritual experiences and spiritual traditions of our ancestors, but also the ones that came
So that's
way
the
before
key
them.
word that you just said, lost. I think over time, I believe in frequency vibrations. I believe it all has to do with different frequencies and things like that. It
Yeah.
seems to be some research that's being done, and anybody who's really in tune with meditating and planet grounding, I think would probably follow suit that way. How many people have just lost their connection even to the planet? They're no
Yeah.
longer grounded. We're not tuned into its frequency anymore. And maybe that was done on purpose, you know, from the powers that be. Maybe it's a distraction, the technology. But you're right. When people find it more exciting to sit here and look at a phone instead of going out and enjoying like a virtual thing, as opposed to going out and enjoying the real thing, to me, it's like, why would you not want to take a walk in the forest? Because you just want to sit here and look at a 3D
They're being trained.
metaverse. I'm in the forest. Okay.
They're being
Good for you.
trained. They're being trained to be in that technology.
Yeah, I
It's
think so.
it's awful. I have a rule in my house that if you sit at my table, your phone doesn't land on my table. First of all, it's a major carrier of germs. You know how germaphobe I am. And second of all, it's disrespectful to everybody who's there to gather.
Yeah.
It's very disrespectful. As with my girlfriends, when we go out, phones end up on the table. First one to pick up their phone for no reason pays the bill.
There you go.
It's like that, you know. And my nieces know better. I don't know if one of them's watching. I actually hid her phone until she left one Easter. I said, I'm not
She's
having this.
watching.
Well, she was all of 18, 19. Nothing can be that
Right.
important that your phone needs to be attached to you.
Mhm.
As a parent, it's different. You know, you have an obligation if your children aren't with you and whatnot. But people are so into this. It's so disturbing. You can go to a restaurant and you'll see a mother and daughter. See, my niece is in the chat room laughing.
That's
She
what I
knows
said. She is
it's
watching.
not her. It's not her. She knows who I'm talking about. It's her cousin. She knows. And you know, it's really sad to see a mother and daughter sitting across from each other like this. And they're having lunch together. I'm not one who lives by my phone. I kept my landline. So if it's direly urgent, you will call my house phone. If you're close enough to me, you will have that number. If it's a medical emergency, you will have that number. I refuse to fall into this because I grew up in a generation, thankfully, we didn't have the internet or social media, because we probably never would have succeeded because we did some crazy crap when we were small. But, you know, like it's a training. to separate you. It's a training to distance you from everything close to you and
Disconnect
have you
you, I think,
prepared.
is a good word,
Absolutely
right?
disconnect. I
Yeah.
disconnect myself from my cell phone. I leave it upstairs. I go onto my main floor. I don't acknowledge it. I will have multiple messages. Just now saw 14 from my brother. But like, you know, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, tell
we
him there's a
have to
show.
change. I just did. I said
The
I'm
hell?
on air, by the way.
Right.
But yeah,
but
and
I get it. Yeah, it's disconnecting us from the things that matter. And
yes.
I think technology is a big distraction, as great as it can be.
Yeah. Well, I
You
mean,
know?
look at all the spiritual practices. I mean, most of technology, even the spirit box of like channeling or being able to pick up on a resonance and tap in, like, you know, the whole
That's a
thing with
lazy man's way of doing it, I admit it.
exactly like you know what I'm saying? Like you know, I remember
It's so
when
cool though.
yeah, no, trust me, I love both. The key is to be in
Yeah.
both. Honestly, the
Yeah.
key is to be in both worlds.
Yes.
But it's like a
Balance.
mimic balance. It's a mimic of that world. I mean, Facebook was, you know, the idea that we're all connected now,
Not
and it's
anymore.
like this the internet being this web of connection that makes us all connected. But hold on, we're already connected to each other. We're already one through the
Collective.
collective,
Yeah, and the soul cords, and you know, like
all of it.
yeah.
It's just like a mimic. And so you know, putting on the goggles, which I love VR. VR is amazing, but that's only coupled with the fact that we can go on journeys within and visit foreign lands and visit
Entertainment.
beings and stuff. You know, we do that for entertainment too, you know, entertainment
Some people tell you
purposes, you know?
DMT can do the same thing.
Exactly.
Not that I
medicine.
would know,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you know, at least it's natural. But no, I think that there's, you know, media has been a big influence. I think social media has just been terrible with false information that is out there. People are very quick to judge. They just read misinformation. I can't tell you, if I had $1 for every time somebody said it's on the internet, it must be real, I'd be like, what
You
did
got
you
the
just say to me?
the Akashic records.
It's
Yeah.
Like everything exists there. I don't need to go into the Akashic. I go on to Google. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I honestly believe that
Right.
my decision, this is bad, my decision. I believe that the choice to keep that landline and keep this separate is one of the keys of balancing. It's working for me. I hope that if you're listening and you're having issues with that, try it.
Yeah.
Try getting a landline and try to separate yourself from this little tiny, because it's a bloody computer. It's not just a phone.
That's
and
true.
It's constantly on there. And it's
Computer in
the
your
new
pocket.
it's the new cigarette.
Mhm.
Time yourself. Look at the time every time you pick it up to check social media. You're going to find yourself, it's probably as often as a smoker smokes a cigarette.
Right. It's
So,
true.
James
That's a great
Brown, love
comment.
your name.
I know, right?
The truth is there, but hidden in plain sight. Damn straight.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. How much information is out there and right in front of us where people just fail to see it for whatever reason. Distraction, busy life, 2 jobs, whether it's social media, whether it's a television. I think there's a lot of things trying to reach out, and people aren't seeing it because they're not paying attention.
They live in a me world right now. Society is very much me. Would you agree?
Yeah, you
It's
know,
for you.
narcissism. You know, narcissism is.
Yes.
You know,
Thank you. Yes,
you know,
that's the word.
You know, I'm sure everyone battles with to a degree. You know,
Yeah.
and then the connection with the cell phone and with the dopamine behind likes and and checking for message. I'm checking for likes. I'm checking. Do you like me? Is people paying attention? Are they commenting? And
Yeah.
I reached a place recently. I ended up hiring a social media person. I needed them because like I would be creating content and creating videos, and once you kind of get so big or whatever, you got a constant inbox. People wanting messages. Hey, is this a picture of a demon? They're sending me videos of UFOs and what do you think about this and that? And me, I genuinely want to help the people, and I'll jump off of whatever I'm doing and talk with a stranger for 2 hours and be like, the hell am I doing?
What did
you know,
I
I'm
get
just trying to
accomplished today?
make
You made
make
somebody
content,
happy.
you know, and so I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
Well,
let that,
that
you know,
light worker inside of you can't resist but to have
that's
that
true.
conversation to help enlighten them and
yeah,
help them. You can't help that. Again, balance is the
healthy
key to
boundaries.
everything. It's so hard. None of us have it mastered. Maybe the
Mhm.
Buddhists do, but we don't.
Yeah, they don't even just
you know
fool them in.
Yeah, they
no,
don't
they
about it,
have an
no.
amazing balanced life.
Well, I live very
Yeah.
close to a huge Buddhist temple, and it's amazing. You just see them out there. They're just so happy to be outside doing things and
Yeah.
in their little robes and just just very
I
content.
love
Even in
them.
the wintertime, they're out there shoveling. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
look at you guys go. You're
I love
awesome.
so much about them, and I'm so happy
It's
that
true.
Italy really adopted a lot of Buddhism in the country, which is a nice change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like, let's get back to New Age and religion? Spirit communication is something that is frowned on by, I'd say, by most religions. But back in the day, people would seek out oracles and seers. This was a very accepted thing. When did all that change? It's just like the ancient people worked and revered extraterrestrial beings, and they looked at them as like, oh my God, you're assisting us, you're helping us. They emulated them, they built monuments and temples to them. What the heck happened? It's like we just kind of got flipped onto our heads, and none of it is acceptable anymore.
Yeah, it was hidden, you know, it was taken away. It was condemned. It's so weird. And
Mm,
that, I mean, that's why I resonate with the story of Jesus so much, is because like it was the same thing for him. There was like, you know, everything was literal. Everything was only the priest class get to kind of tap in and do these things. And he's like, no, listen, the
mm,
king, man, don't follow them people. The kingdom is inside of you. You don't
mm.
need anything they're selling. You don't need to go to their meetings. You don't need to be ordained. Listen, the kingdom is inside of you.
Right.
Pray, go within, and you can experience whatever,
Mhm,
you know. And then Jesus is meeting with spirits. Demons know who he is. He's walks into a room and knows what people are thinking.
mm,
You know, they're like, they wake up in the middle of the night with angels speaking to them. And
mhm.
if they don't wake up and speak to them literally, they come into their dream state and bring a
Right.
message and says, hey, I know you guys are headed this way tomorrow,
Mm,
but I need you to go the other way. And
right.
they were consulting spirits. I mean, one of the most beautiful terms, and I catch a lot of flack for this, one of the most beautiful terms is the word divination. To
Yes.
be able to divine and to get clear answers from whatever.
Mhm,
But it's demonized in the Bible. And for a certain reason, there's one main scripture in the New Testament where someone's consulting lower level entities to get information. And the word that is used there is divination, but
mhm.
it's not the real word that was used. The word, it actually tells you she was consulting the god of the underworld, Python, the Greek god Python, and she was
Right.
getting information and she was bringing it back. And so the apostles rebuked her because she was mocking them and all of this kind of stuff. So they rebuked her. She lost her power. And the word that we're reading in English is divination. It's not a good translation. It doesn't mean that at all. She was
Right.
using a form of divination, but because of that, the majority of Christendom and religion cut off that word altogether.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's done this study. I'm bringing this stuff to the table. It's brand new to. I'm
Mhm.
having to find it for myself and then present it. But um, divination in the Old Testament, they bragged about how good they were. Like the prophets, the
Mhm.
seers, Laban, Joseph, Daniel, like all of these mighty men of God bragged about, hey, don't you dare double cross me, because you know how good I am with divination. I
Wow.
can tap in and get answers and I can find out which one of you are stealing from me. So you better bring it back, because if I have to go in and do that and God has to tell me through divination. So they would use these tools,
Mhm.
scrying, you know, tea leaf reading, casting
Mhm.
of lots and casting of stones, claromancy, that the Bible is painting this tool in a beautiful light
Mhm.
from Genesis to Revelation.
Right.
But
Right.
you mention this to most religious people, and it's a buzzword, and they'll never speak to you again.
Mhm.
But those who are hungry to go into deeper, it's, hold on, let me. He's showing scriptures here. There's some proof here, and then you
Mhm.
go into where they say, listen, casting of lots, that the lot is cast, the casting of lots or the pulling of straws, eeny,
Right.
meeny, miny, mo, flip of a
Right.
coin, the luck of the draw,
Mhm.
whatever. It says that the lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord.
Right.
Like that never changed. There was
No.
no scripture saying that God doesn't speak that way anymore or
Mhm.
whatever. And so I like to tell the Christians who would like get offended or that's witchcraft or new age. It's like, we don't need that. We don't need to talk. Who are you to tell me what I don't need? You don't need it. I need it. I
Mhm.
That's an
love it.
ancient
I honor
argument.
it.
You know that,
Right.
right? That's an
Yeah.
ancient argument that goes
Mhm.
back thousands of years,
Mhm.
well,
Oh yeah.
hundreds at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's in a good light.
Yeah.
Something that the majority of, I mean, hands down, I mean, 99.99% of Christians will say divination is satanic. It is only used this way, but then in the New Testament, they had a big
Mhm.
decision. Judas left, and they had to figure out who's going to be the 13th disciple. So
Mhm.
they leave it up to the luck of the draw. They said, let's flip a
Right.
coin. That's a big decision.
Flip a coin. Who's the next apostle?
Yeah, and it's
That's
like,
crazy. I
because they
know.
believe God would
Yeah.
speak through it. And guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
He did. Now, if you believe God doesn't speak through it, again, it becomes what
Mhm.
you say it is. God,
Mhm.
he doesn't. It's rendered powerless. It's an ancient
Mhm.
practice that only witches use and only people use to
Mhm.
conjure demons. And that becomes your truth until you see something else that's available that, hey, the people that you look up to, that you
Mhm.
honor in those scriptures, they used it and they bragged about how they
Mhm.
got direct answers from God.
Mhm.
And so that's
Mhm.
beautiful to me.
It is. I think when you go back from, like the Gnostic texts and you go back to, the Old Testament, I mean, it's man who is going into the New Testament, books being left out. They decide what's going to be in, what's going to be out. And there's misinterpretation in translation, especially when going from one language to another. So, how much information is just being changed due to the fact that it's not being properly translated?
Yeah.
What's being
So
missed?
much. Like
How
all of
about the Mandela effect?
The Mandela effect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think all of it, but I've come to from a place of complaining about it to a place of like, again,
Mm,
honor, finding the good in it. Now I can see why. Now I'm thankful because you got to dig. You
right.
got it. We go back to free will. How bad do you want it?
Right.
How bad do you want it?
Hmm.
When you start breaking down those words,
Hmm.
you start finding something there. Like break, see what the word. It's not hard to do.
Hmm.
The word that was used for divination is not the real word. It's
Hmm.
Python. Like,
Right.
there's so much more that is hidden within
Mm,
it. I think that it's done purposely, whether it was by a priest class or I would say a higher power. I really believe that it's divine. It's really inspired with some deep mystical stuff. But I think that it was done to keep it from the profane, to keep it from people who would find out how to do this and how to use people and how to use it you know to have
mm,
control over others. And look at it, it was used that
exactly
way
right.
anyway. you
Yeah.
know you
So,
gotta you have to come upon your own free will. Like, you gotta dig, you gotta
mhm,
wrestle, you gotta say, hold on, I I have angels appearing to me, or beings appearing to me. The pastor told me to rebuke them, and
mhm,
I did. We pray
mm,
against them, but they keep coming.
right.
Why are they still coming? Well, keep praying, brother, keep praying.
Mhm,
Maybe, well, Jesus had some appear to him in the night, and these guys did too, and Paul did, and Peter, and all of these guys. And then the early church, these people, these early mystics continued to be visited by their deceased relatives, because they weren't really deceased. They were just living in another realm of vibration. So
mm,
how bad do you want to go? So most of us have to like go against that better judgment that says, hey, we told you not to look into that.
right.
It's like, you know
Right.
what? I'm doing it anyway because I prayed, I sought your advice. I didn't get the answers I was looking for. And so
Mhm,
that's why people fall away from religion. That's why people, get into occult and mysticism and stuff, because But again, it was there under their nose. Like James Brown said, it was there under their nose the
The
whole
entire
time.
time.
Like,
Yes.
where's the perfect place to hide it? In the one thing that you've turned your back on the church, on God, on religion, on the clergy, because of the atrocities and what they represent. Like, if you go like that pilgrimage to go back to your childhood faith, to go back to the Bible, but the Bible says that God hates gay people, or God doesn't like slavery's in the Bible. It's like, come on, man, like, go back to it. There's something they got you out of it for a reason,
Right.
you know. And so there's this whole mystery of unlocking it and returning back to the thing that, you know, was there the whole time, which has been a beautiful journey for me and for many people.
Well, I think you look at the fact that there are high levels of, again, I'll just say the Catholics, because they're the most public, that they do practice things like astrology and astronomy. And, you know, Micah has been on the show a couple of times, and he's thrown in all this astrological stuff. We're like, what? You know,
It's amazing.
You know, but it shows you that there are things in there that what's good for them is not necessarily good for the rest of us. And a lot of information is being held back, or like James Brown has said, it goes translated, twisted for their own gain. Absolutely. And in plain sight, absolutely, if you can decipher it.
Literally in plain sight. Like, just go outside right now and look up.
Right.
It's in plain sight. That was the revelation for me about the UFOs and all that stuff. It was there the whole time. All I had to do was look up. I was too enamored with my cell phone, with what people think about me and all. So that was the biggest revelation for me. It's like, man, this stuff was here the whole time. And I just had to get quiet and go outside long enough and look up. And that's all our ancestors did. You know, that's why they were having this stuff. Or even your connection with the sun and sun gazing, which you're talking about the Catholic Church being sun worshipers, the Son of God.
That's right.
Like, they're hiding something from you. No, don't worship
Jordan
the sun.
Maxwell, thank you.
Worship the literal sun. I mean, you know, God's son, the Jesus. So that's cool, but everything's an emanation. Everything goes deeper. The beauty behind this whole thing, and I think what we got to step into is, because Micah Dank's my homie. Micah Dank brings something beautiful to the table. But whenever we get into some place of like, the Bible is only astrology. It is only astrology. It's all it is. Like, we lose a lot. But I've got amazing friends who teach that the Bible is about your anatomy, raising the Christos Christ oil up the base of your spine and all the way to your cerebellum and to your third eye, and becoming illuminated so that you can ascend. And your anatomy, the 24 elders in Revelation, you have 12 ribs on each side, and they bow down to the throne of God. God's throne is your heart, that he comes to sit upon your heart, to rule and reign inside of you as an ancient cathedral, as what's going on in heaven. It's on earth, literally.
You know how many Christians are beating you down in the street right now?
Hey, no, you're right. Like, I get it, but there's so many people waking up.
I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just saying that's a mindset.
We mentioned these rulers and what's going on in the earth. It's for good reason.
Right.
These people are responding. They had what we're going through right now. They had to do something. We are ascending. The Bible is a book of ascension. The Bible is a book about how to turn your body into light, how to become love and take your place amongst the stars.
Which one, though? Which edition?
Which edition?
Yeah. See, because that's questionable, because, again, the Mandela effect, all the reprints, all the scriptures that are missing, all the gospels that are missing.
Yeah, I think the I would say the agreed upon one that we have now is like, there's enough in it to do it. There is definitely stuff that you have to, again, you have to deviate and go read Enoch, or deviate and go read the Testament of Solomon. Like, there was so many books of like this huge library, like even the Library of Alexandria, or probably what they have in the Vatican still, stuff that was taken out. I think that it's kind of like a lot of it's like side missions. Like, everybody had books. All they did was write. And so People wrote about their ascension. People wrote about their encounter with Christ and stuff. But I think that enough of it was left intact for you to kind of read between the lines and start breaking stuff down. If you take it literal, we're going to start building cathedrals and we're going to start doing all of this stuff because you don't know that your body is a cathedral,
Right.
and that God lives inside of you. And so we build a cathedral and say, God, come to the house of God. They say that in churches. It's like, no, house of God. That's not biblical. Like Jesus says, like, I'm going to destroy that temple. And that's why they killed him. He said, I'm going to destroy this temple, and in 3 days later, I'll rebuild it. What do you mean you're going to destroy it? How can you rebuild this in 3 days? This huge, immaculate temple that took hundreds of years to build. How are you going to restore it? And it says he was talking about the body, that you are the temple.
Right.
Why we miss it, and we build immaculate cathedrals. You know what an immaculate cathedral is? You're an immaculate cathedral with more beautiful than anything that exists on the earth. That stuff was a mirror image of what is inside of you. When you read about Solomon's temple, you're reading about what's in space too, in the stars, but you're also reading about what's inside of you. As above, so below, as within, so without. So going back to the literal, we got to have the literal. It kind of makes it more real for us. It like helps us like open and unravel and unfold
like
things.
Anything.
But
we need the physical.
Stop there. Yeah, it's these stories, man. It means different things to different people. As you unlock and as you bring more light to your body, it's revealed to you, and you see something that you didn't see before. So again, the anatomy inside of you, the literal story, Micah Dank with the Gospel of the Stars, and even the spirit world. And we're talking about spirits and beings and the ethers that are around you. Like it translates to all of that stuff, all of it. So I want to get a round table with people who can agree and not say that the Bible is only literal.
Right.
The Bible is only about your anatomy, brother. It's only about raising the Christos energy. That's all it's about. It was an allegory. It is about that. But what makes it special is that it's about all of those things and more. And that's what it's like.
I think for the person who's reading it and is looking and like seeking, searching to find something, will find what fits them.
Yeah.
And what they need to see.
What they're ready to see, like and many people, this goes over their head. I understand that, and that's why the church people lash out at us.
It's true. I think it's because from the time you're born, you end up in some kind of a regulated, confines of a religion. Like for me, it was Catholicism, which I say I'm a recovering Catholic. I joke about it, but pretty much that's what it is. I'm more of a spiritual. I'm a person of light. I'm a being of light on a human journey, having a human experience. That's really how I look at things. If I had to follow anything, I would probably have followed Gnosticism more than anything, because they at least explored and believed in the stars. They were aware of other beings. Like we're just a grain of salt on or sand on a really big beach, and people just don't get that. But it is instilled into us from very, very early on, as you go through, the rites of baptism, right? The rites of confession, the rites of like all of it, communion, all of it. You just keep going. Like there's structure. We're given that structure. Yeah. It's drilled into us. And some religions I find to be very, very extreme, like brainwashing almost. It's as bad as the media. And still fear and still fear and still fear. When you stop fearing this certain thing, okay, what's the next thing? We can instill fear and still fear and still fear until we snap out of it and go, okay, we're not scared of that anymore. Okay, what can we get them on next? It's just, people can't look outside of it because it's been instilled into them and pumped into their psyche from very early on. So how do you escape that prison, as I say? And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody. It's just
a question.
It's a question.
Everything comes full circle like it has to. I mean, all of that, when we mention the Bible, like all of those people like had to take that journey. Right. You had the journey away from the faith of your fathers. You know, you had to take that step out of the boat. You had to take a step into the mystery and into that place that you were told not to go, and into the darkness, and you find out that it wasn't what everyone says it was. You remember the movie The Village by M. Night Shyamalan? Did you watch that? I love it.
Just watched it like a month ago. I'm like,
so good.
I don't know why, but I did. That's funny.
It's a good show.
Mean, I don't know if we should give the pun away, but it makes perfect sense.
It's okay. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, right.
It's too late
you ain't
now.
watched it yet.
Yeah.
No, it's true. You get to the edge, it's like, oh, shit.
Don't go there. No, it's the edge. You're gonna fall off.
Exactly. And you get there, and it's like, right?
Well, I mean, that's the test. You know, that's the test that I think that is set up by the spirits, by God, and by the angels and the demons.
Right.
You know, when this thing all rolls up in this board game and all the pieces were put back in the box, I think that we're going to see things that the way that they, you know, were supposed to go, or when the end credits come and it says so and so was this, and it was played by that spirit and this and that, and we'll say, man, it was a purpose for all of this stuff. And so the journey is there, that those people who traveled through that forest had to overcome fear. They had to, like, there was the fear of death. There was a fear of dying, that, there's monsters in the forest that are going to kill you. Right. But how bad do you want it? Same analogy again with the being at the end of the bed, or the lights that are coming out of the sky. How bad do you want it? You might get abducted. You might, but you may have to psych yourself up. You may have to want it. You got to want it more than you don't, you know?
But why is it such an abduction thing? Like, can't you just be an experiencer or a contactee? Why can't you? I think, again, media has instilled so much fear with the abduction thing. And don't get me wrong, there have been people who have been abducted and have had horrific experiences. We've had some of them on the show.
Not
we've
since
had
the
people
80s.
on the show who've had great experiences too.
Yeah. Not since the 80s. Like, that's one of the things that helps me with my fear and stuff. And I was like, listen, I haven't met anybody who's like, I've been abducted. I mean, some of them, but that was
not in a bad way.
No, what you said, experiencers, contactees, like, and so stepping into the awe, into the wonder of it, like, of even, like, you know, demon possession. Like, I was possessed by demons. Like, now I'm out of it, and so, you know, stay away from me, demons. Like, no, I'm like, hey, man, listen, hey, I respect you, man. Guess what? I'm not stealing anything anymore. Right. I'm not gossiping.
You don't want to be down that road anymore.
No, I'm not.
You're
robbing
free of it,
people.
and you're right.
Because if you submit yourself to that, then I think that you're opening yourself up to. They have legal ground. But anyway, you know, there's a different respect, and you know, I do think the way that we see things change, and there is the mystery of the exploration and the discovery of what it is. Because I'm no expert on any of this. You know, but these are things that I've learned, and but they're changing. So again, like the encounter that people have with shadow beings in their room when they're a kid, like, and to me, it was a demon at one point. Maybe it's an angel now. It's a being, right? And it changed my life. And I'm almost 40, and I'm still talking about it today, 40 years later. And it changed my life. What if my mother comes to Mrs. Derrick? You know, when we lived in that house in Louisiana, there was the neighbor was a convicted offender. Right. And we accidentally left your window open. And he came in through your window, and we caught him. And you were in shock. And he was on top of you, him and somebody else. Like, it changes everything. Like, we're unraveling and unfolding and figuring this out. Is that beyond what happens? No, because even in ufology, you've got the idea of people who are writing books on being abducted by aliens who, you know, it's the idea of birth trauma. People are remembering what it was like to come out of the womb and be snatched out, and these doctors sticking needles in you and these big goggles on in your face, and you're having nightmares from birth trauma of being snatched out of the womb, you know? And so
it's a good perspective for sure.
All of this stuff is changing, and it's slippery, and it becomes what it says. Cause I could tell my mom, like, no, then I gotta unpublish my book. Mom, I wrote a book on this.
Right.
and now I got to recant my statement. No, I'm making too much money. There's a documentary that's amazing on this, and I talk to these people on my podcast, and you do too. It's called Misha and the Wolves. If you've not seen it, it's about the very thing that I just said, of someone writing a best-selling novel and being picked up by Oprah and going on. There was movies done on it, and she made it all up as a response to trauma. And in the end, she was exposed and admitted, and she sold this story about being raised by wolves and to go on this journey and not to Nazi Germany to find her true family. Right. And just so interesting. And I talk to these people, and I'm a skeptic. I truly am, but I think that's opened the door for me to experience some really interesting stuff, to not be like, yeah, that was an alien. That was it. Like, hold on, I want this thing to pop into the reality. Right. I want it, I want some proof. I want to know, versus like, something fell off the wall and we saw it was a ghost because the picture fell or something. Like, you want proof, because I'm a truth seeker. Many of us are. And but I think having that skepticism, we got to have a BS detector, because you got fake stories and people who are just great storytellers and people who have really experienced it who can't articulate.
You have the internet now, therefore people have access to you, right, to your beliefs. It's very hard, like you say, to decipher what's real, what's not real. And I think people are they've been dictated to so much, whether it's a brainwashing thing because you see the same shows all the time, or whether it's education, whatever it may be, upbringing. I think some people are afraid to open their minds. Other people may not know how to open their minds. It's a bit of a dilemma, because I think there's beings out there reaching out. The hand is extended, but there's nothing coming back.
Yeah, it's I love, I think that they, with free will is just the journey to go deeper. Like, there's breadcrumbs, there's signs, there's so much there, but you have to, again, come upon your own free will. So I love being able to talk about this stuff and to put material and ideas that go against the grain, and to see it resonate with people who who were told, like, no, don't do that. You're going to get demon possessed if you meditate. Right. Like, no, you're going to experience God if you meditate. Right. Like, both, like, literally, the weird thing is both are true. Like, if you believe that you're going to be demon possessed if you meditate, and you go into it thinking that you're going to get possessed and feeling like you're disobeying God to do this. And that's why I'm like, hold on, listen, no, I'm going to show you in the Bible. Jesus meditated. He went into mountains. He went on top of mountains. His ancestors, his predecessors taught him from beyond the grave in meditation and in prayer. And as far as I'm concerned, all of Eastern traditions believe that Christianity is supposed to be stemmed from the East. Why not? Why not? It's not that far beyond our realm of thinking, but they don't even know that, this stuff is in the Bible, because it's been hidden. It's been,
well, they're aware of it. We're just not aware of it.
Yeah, they keep you take the power away.
They do it, but that's just it. I think they keep the power for certain people, the knowledge for certain people. Even back in the day, way back in the day, even with the Old Testament, you had people who were God-fearing, and they believed what was there. And a lot of them, were poor people. It's just something that was very sacred to them. Yeah. Where I think more educated people, maybe people of wealth, were taught, depending on how much wealth you had, were taught on bloodline, the real
lineage.
Yeah. Lineage, absolutely. That's a big one right there too.
Yeah, who's worthy? I mean, but again, it's like I see the pros and cons in it, because it's like, I see the pros and cons, but I feel like it should be available for everyone, and in a sense, it is. Yes. But you got to be open to look, and you're going to find it, even if you didn't find it in the Bible, you found it somewhere else. Maybe you come back later, maybe you never do. But if you go looking for it, it's going to show itself to you. But the idea of like responsibility and not throwing your pearls before swine, of like, if you go out, if I go up to random people and say, start talking to them about the UFOs that come to me at night, hey, stay away from him. When you can't talk to him. But I mean, what if it was back within our society? I think look at all the Renaissance art, even the Christian art of UFOs, all within the art.
Yes,
like,
tons.
What if that's supposed to be normal, man? Like, I think
it's true. These are works of art that are revered. Hold that thought. We have to do a station sponsor.
We absolutely do. You've got me like pulled right in, and I can't think straight, but I need to get this one because otherwise we won't have a show next week.
Nope.
Not at all. You're listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano. Tonight's special guest for the first time, and we hope another time, is True Seekah himself. We are discussing everything esoteric, paranormal, spirituality, ET. We are live right now on 105.3 FM radio from the beautiful city of New Orleans, and we're streaming on UFO Paranormal Radio and United Public Radio, as well as International Public Radio and a whole other bunch of Facebook pages, as well as our own The Outer Realm and Miss Michelle's Canada's Most Haunted. Our intro and outro is courtesy of award-winning composer Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, aka Justin Snicker. You can find him on Amazon and Bandcamp, as well as on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And tonight and every night and from the beginning of time, and we pray for, I'd like to thank Folgers Coffee for sponsoring our show. No one loves you more than Michelle and I. Thank you for supporting us. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you, Folgers.
Okay, back to you. And
now we're good.
Yes, all of this sacred
before
art.
I was yes. Rudely interrupted.
That's right. I am, if anything, rude. If anything, I'm always rude.
Got to pay the bills, man.
I'm the baby with three brothers. I'm cutting people off.
Yeah. Man, shout out to New Orleans. My wife and daughter are in New Orleans right now at the Billie Eilish concert. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Yes, to see we're getting back to normality.
Should be happening here eventually. Soon.
Yes. So getting back to, everything art wise, you look at Da Vinci himself was said to have had some crazy experience. He disappeared in a cave for 2 weeks, came back. Brilliant, even more so. And that's when he started getting into all of these formulas he was doing, and like just sort of people thought he was over the top, but that was the experience he was given. So again, why is it that our ancient people, the bots are just loving us tonight. My gosh.
They just started.
Bots on YouTube.
They're a little late.
I know. They're a little late for sure. Why, again, the ancients, things that the ancients would accept, we don't accept. I think back in the day, I think we're coming full circle a little bit. Back in the day, they would have gone out and invited people from the stars to come into them, to come, be a part of their society.
Yeah.
I think now this is a whole other movement where people are doing just that. Yeah. They're going out, they're calling, they're looking up, and they're calling out, I'm ready.
Yeah. And, to see it done. To see it done for the first time, and I have to go back, to where I was, because, there was totally fear there. There was fear to go out and try to make contact. There was a couple things that I saw. There was a website that I found, BibleUFO.net, was by a guy named Patrick Cook at the time. Right. And he had thousands of pages and thousands of Bible verses about things that could be talking about extraterrestrial phenomena, about ships and flying machines in the sky. And I remember finding his website and just being like, wow, because it kind of lit that fire back within me about ufology, but there was still fear. But now I was reading it from a text that I trusted, that was beautiful and meant a lot to me. And I saw it changing the way that I viewed it, and that it could be angels. Wow, the host of heaven, and these angels travel back and forth from heaven to earth, and they look like fire in light when they're in the heavens, but as they wish, they can come to earth and take upon the appearance of men. Like that's all in there. And then he had so much stuff. And then I remember seeing a video on YouTube about this guy by the name of Prophet Yahweh. And so it was this older black guy, and the news crew came out to Los Angeles to film him because he said he can summon UFOs on command.
Right.
And so they brought the news crew out, and he's in an open field, and he says, I do this by using the Hebrew version of the Bible. And I'm like, oh, I like the Bible too. And I'm reading all these scriptures, and he goes out to this open field, and he raises his arms in the air, and he's wearing all white, and he says, Dear Yahweh, please send one of your angels and let these people see that I'm not crazy. And he asks for a sighting, and literally these little orbs start popping up outside, like way up in the atmosphere. And the news crew caught it on camera, and they're all in awe and freaking out. And I'm watching it, freaking out, like, wow, I'm going to try it. I'm reading all of these verses, but then I step outside, and then there's that fear. But there was one scripture that really killed the fear for me. Because my friends who were even into like really deep Anunnaki stuff and esoteric stuff, and they're like, hey man, be careful, dude. You're going to get abducted. You're going to have to call for something to show up, and you're going to get in trouble, man. And they weren't even Christian. I couldn't talk to Christians about this. I had to go to those guys. And, and so there was a scripture that says that if you ask your father for a fish, he's not going to give you a serpent. If you ask your father for a loaf of bread or something to eat, he's not going to throw you a stone. And so that scripture, what that meant is like, if I go out and I ask God, the creator of all of the worlds, if there's aliens, if there's demons, he made them, or it made them, whatever your terminology is. God, you're my father. You love me. You'll never let me get hurt. If they are beings out there that have my greatest good in mind, would you allow me to see them? I read the Bible, and it talks about the cherubim, the seraphim that carry the knowledge of God, and they are made out of, they're called the fiery serpents. They're made out of fire. Lord, if they're out there, can I see one? Can I see one? And I'm almost begging, and I'm looking. It's like, Lord, let me see. And all of a sudden, something shoot across the sky. Wow. Something blink. Wow. And just seeing stuff moving in the sky, and the heavens just started unfolding for me, and I couldn't wait to go out every night. So now you can't talk me out of, hey, they're not real, man. That's not real. Want to bet? All you got to do is come with me and look up
and have faith. I think you have so many people who have faith in the words when they're reading, let's say, the Bible, but the fear, they just can't find the faith that, no, you'll be fine. There's, I think they take the fear of everything instead of, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people just like, no, they understand it is love and light, but there are things out there that, you believe that God created all of this, but why do you think he would just limit himself to planet Earth? It's a big universe, lots of them, big galaxies everywhere. Why do you think that your creator would limit himself to one tiny little planet and that there's nothing else anywhere? It's to me, I just see there's just so much. Oh my God, the bots. Look at me. I'm talking. The bots are completely taking over the freaking
They're taking
YouTube
over.
stream.
Can I read Dave's question?
Yes.
Thank you. He asks, have you heard of Genesis Sunfire?
Yes.
I have not. But I do know that Genesis, when it comes to ufology and ascension, if you will, talks about the chariots of fire, right? These chariots of Israel that would watch over God's people and help them get through the wilderness. And they were a flame of fire by night, but they looked like a cloud during the day. And hence we have things that we call cloud ships in ufology and these blurry objects in the sky or shiny objects. And so really interesting. And then it ties maybe into metaphysics or New Age, because the word chariot breaks down to, well, the word means vehicle. It just means a vehicle. For some reason in our minds, we see a horse-drawn chariot. It's in our minds because that's
what was a vehicle at the time.
Well, that's what they showed us in the art,
Right.
And you're right. That's what a vehicle was. But Sunday school, you see the chariot races and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But never chariots of fire. Maybe they had like fire for the feet. I've seen pictures of as a kid,
Right.
but the word translates to vehicle, but it actually comes from the term Merkabah, which means light body vehicle, or Merkaba. Or
Yes.
Merkaba in mysticism. I mean, just from the word means to be able to turn your body into a vehicle of light and travel the cosmos. Who or what are these beings? And I was so enamored with ufology and Palladians and all that stuff for a long time, and I would call them the Elohim. And I know there's different rankings and orders of angels,
Yeah.
but at this point, like, I've kind of gone back to the fact that those were people that obtained their light bodies and are now governing and watching over humanity. And when
Mhm.
you pass on into eternity, your vehicle, your vessel of light, you ascend back into the heavens. Depending on the type of life that you live, there's some
Mhm.
contingency and maybe some ranking orders and some tests that you have to pass to be able to hold and carry more light. There's some things you might need to let go of.
Mhm.
It gets interesting in that process,
It does.
but
Yeah.
but the Bible is a book of ascension, and so it's telling us this story, like, in so many ways. I just broke
Mhm.
down this crazy code yesterday. I spent like 5 hours just
Wow.
studying the scriptures, and I started breaking down. I know the Bible's allegory. I know it's not talking about people, even though we look at it in this way. I
Yes.
don't look at it as people who lived 6,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, whatever. I look at it as
Mm.
talking about me, and
Right.
you. And so I'm reading it, and I look up Jacob. And so Jacob's been revealed to me recently as you have two natures that all of us have within us. We have an animalistic nature, which is
Mm.
Esau, which he
Mhm.
came out furry. He came out hairy like an animal.
Mhm.
And then you have Esau, then you have Jacob. And so one was gimme, gimme, gimme. And somebody's eating a chicken bone. Give me that. I'm hungry. Just
Mhm.
take what he wants now. Instant gratification, pleasure now.
Service to
And so
self. Yeah.
service to
Mm-hmm.
self.
And
The
service to
idea
others. Yeah.
was that Abraham would say that you would have a blessing that I'm going to give you when you reach a certain age. Everything that I own will become yours.
Mm.
You and your brother are going to rule over everything that I own. He said, "No, I don't want to wait. I want it now. I want it now. Give it now." So he talks to Jacob and says, "Listen, I'll give you my birthright. I don't want to wait 40 years, 60 years, 100 years. I want it now. I'll give you my birthright for some of your soup." You're talking about instant gratification. You're talking about a wait. You just want this
Right.
bowl of soup versus having a kingdom, So that's what Esau represents, the beast nature, the animalistic nature.
Mm.
Everybody's talking about the mark of the beast.
Mhm.
Do you have the mark? Come on, that's the mark. Are you fighting, killing, destroying, pillaging? That's the beast nature. But you also have the other nature, which is Jacob, which is that of contemplation. It's
Mhm.
contemplation is to think about it. Should I sell my birthright or should I keep it? Because both, maybe Jacob wanted to do it too.
Mhm.
I can sell mine. There's somebody else. No, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to choose to keep it. And then should we go left or right? I'm going to go right. Should I kill this person or should I bless them and keep moving? Should I forget? Someone cut me off in traffic. Somebody cursed me out. Do I kill them or do I keep moving? Like, life is about choices. And so
Mhm.
Jacob represents choices. And even his big defining moment where his name was changed, he wrestled a divine being. He
Mhm.
wrestled one of the Elohim, or God,
Mhm.
if you want to call it. It's the same word. He
Right.
wrestled with it and he said, "I'm not letting you go until you bless me." And he was fighting the angel. He won't let him go. And finally the angel touches his hip and it changes him. He's left changed, and it changes his name from Jacob to Israel. He became an El because he wrestled in his spirit. He wrestled with the things of God, with right and wrong, and chose right. So you have Jacob's ladder,
Right.
which is the ladder of ascension. into the heavens, that he saw a vision of angels, which means messengers.
Right.
These are people who can become angels too,
Right.
or angels who can come back down.
Look at Enoch.
Men.
Metatron, right?
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
this idea of ascension. And
Yes.
Jacob's ladder, Jesus talks to Nathaniel in the New Testament, and he says, when I get baptized, what you're going to see very soon is angels ascending and descending upon the Son of Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jacob's ladder.
Right.
A ladder. It's not just a ladder. A ladder has levels to it. The ladder is also a spiral that spirals up, but also spirals down, because you can take a descent into debauchery and really dark things. I mean, that's where I started my spirituality, was 7 steps backward, you know. But this whole wrestling with God to attain light, wrestling with your conscience, choosing right. And if you choose wrong, there's consequences.
Right.
But if you choose right, there's rewards. And this is all throughout the Bible of rewards and what it looks like. And spiritually, gems added to your etheric body. You become a beautiful angelic being. You know how they say Satan looked like this being or whatever, with jewels and gems and harps? That wasn't Satan. It was an El who, that's what he looked like in the spirit.
Right.
But because he descended and he mocked God's people or whatever, he fell from grace, right? He spiraled down.
Yes.
So that story, which continues to go, it continues in the life of Jesus, who from humble beginnings learned mysticism, learned spirituality, learned how to balance his energy and choose love. So much so that he never hurt anyone, he never stole, he never did anything wrong, and they still killed him. And he willingly, did that for humanity, right? So, but he ascended. He rose on the 3rd day, and his body, his Merkaba, ascended into the heavens. And he bids people to come. He says, "Hey, I'm the firstborn among many brethren." Anyway, that whole story of what I unlocked, I broke down all of the names of Jacob's children, of what they mean in the Hebrew.
Right.
And Jacob's name was turned to Israel, which means you will reign as a god or as an El. So the story plays out this, and everybody's name is wild, but it says that if God says that if you will see and behold a son, and that you will choose that which is pleasant, and you will wrestle with my judgments and wrestle with my statutes, that you will ascend and make your home a habitation in the heavens, and that you will be made a ruler or a judge, which is an El, is an Elohim. You will be made an Elohim, and you will sit and be made a son of the right hand, which is what Jesus became.
Right.
The son of the right hand. It's like, you're talking about codes and beauty that was hidden. I don't know. It's literal, man.
But
Stay
it's
out
all
of that.
right there.
What are you talking about? This is, it's in, that's one, you can keep going. It's in all of this stuff. The book of Kings that talk about like the order of kings and how a kingdom is ran. And you got literal earthly kingdoms and Judaism and things. They're trying to run it. That's talking about the spirit realm. And how these angels and spirits operate, and how court is held in heaven every night, dependent on the type of life that you're living and the type of beings that come to you. Like, it's super deep. Well, it's literal, man.
It's literal. A lot of people are having these experiences, though. They're seeing.
You're waking up.
It's not so black and white. Yeah, like an awakening. I have a comment here. I just want to put up for you. Bubbles, you want to get that? Or do you want me to get that?
Okay. Yep. Teresa said, sorry, since I was a soul in heaven, I knew I was taken from the creation room. I did not want to leave. I tried to hide, but I was sent anyway. I had to endure birth into flesh so I could figure out that mankind screwed up throughout the ages. Dang, and the angels were with me for many of my childhood years, but also the evil ones were there too. This place is awful compared to heaven, but my specific path has always been guided. even though the world has the infiltrating
evil. Yeah, we don't have the rest of
Okay.
that, unfortunately. It just
Yeah.
cuts off. So, yeah, I guess it's some people have a difficult time being here. Some people, I understand why we can't remember past lives, because, like, we were just talking about this last night on the show. You would be suffering through so many losses, people you've missed, people who didn't maybe come back with you this time, or whose journey may be different than your own. But some people, clearly have recollection. It's hard to exist in this place.
It is, there's so much going on, it is hard. But the idea of, I got a song called Whispers from Eternity, and it features a sermon by T.D. Jakes. But the idea of the song is that you remember who you were before you incarnated here. And so the idea that Jesus is going around doing his thing, and when I go back to that story of Jacob and what that interpretation meant, it says it talks about you will see a son. It says you will see him, but you will hear him,
right?
And that you will when you hear him, you will rejoice. And then we see Jesus going around preaching the gospel and doing good deeds and doing good works, and he would meet people, and they would recognize him, they would remember him, and something in them would trigger, and they would rejoice. That's him. That's the one. Like he says, my sheep obey my voice, and a stranger's voice they will not follow. It's a familiar voice. It's a voice that is pleasant, a voice that is good, a voice that we remember before we incarnated here. But also, like, that's Jesus, right? He's up on a pedestal, but also that is coming through us. Like, he is the light. He is all that is beautiful. That's what he represents, everything that is good. And we carry that light. Anytime you do something good, you're bearing his name, if you will. And other people see it in us, and they remember, wow, navigating through all of this stuff. At first, we all know it. It's written on our heart. It's in our DNA. The
right.
DNA is also the the ladder of Jacob, but also it holds codes and memories. Most of the stuff we know it, but we don't. It's fantasy, and you watched it in a movie. We get that doesn't. It's not real
because
anymore.
We're taught it's fantasy. When
somebody embodies it, when you see it, hey, he did it, and he's okay. Hey, True Seekah is communing with those lights in the sky that I felt like I should commune with, but I was told not to. He meditates and he's okay. Like, or for me, I read it in the Bible. Like that's how I learned all this stuff was in there, that I wanted to read it and find it because it was in me. The churches tell you it's demons in you. Pray against it and it'll go away. Okay, I did that. Guess what? You can't pray God away. God don't leave. Like that's in you. That's on your that's in your destiny scroll for you to unfold on your own free will. You can pray against it, rebuke it. It's not going to go. So I had to find it for myself. And then I started finding telepathy in the Bible. I started finding divination, ghosts in the Bible that would show up and look like wisp and colors, and all of that's in there in a beautiful light. Like the fact that, we talked about the spirit box and communing with creating some type of antenna to pick up spirits and communicate with. Your body is a spirit box. When a spirit comes into the room, guess what happens? All the hair on your arms stand up. You get chills when there's a spirit. The temperature of the room changes. Like that's all in the Bible. Like,
so why do you think the Bible tries to deter people from communicating with spirits or the deceased?
It really paints everything as a tool.
Right.
So, and that's why it champions the idea to try to hide this from you. Because what happens with a young True Seekah, learning how to commune with spirits when I'm evil. Like, I want to hurt people. I want to rob you. Listen, if I knew how to leave my body at that age, I'm going into girls' bedroom. I'm just letting you know. All young boys would have. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
You know, so there comes a responsibility.
Right.
I mean, I did it. I opened up portals to the netherworld. You know what I'm saying? I peered in to levels and realities that I had no business looking into.
Right.
It wasn't privy for me to go into. And so
Right.
the Bible talks about there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Right.
And so it says you have to enter in through this gate. And this is the gate of Jesus. It's not church. It's not religion. It's light. It is
Right.
love. Enter in through love for yourself, for humanity, for your enemies, for your ex, for your mother, father, whoever. You have to become at peace with all beings. And then you'll be trusted to carry more of the light, and it will unlock. The book of Revelation is about revelation.
Right.
Divine revelation, downloads of the etheric realms that are unlocked by, it says Jesus. Like, that's not his name. Like, I'm using this, I know it sounds religious, but
Yeshua.
Yeshua, right? But it's light. And love is the only thing that's going to open up those seals, because it says the only one worthy to open those seals is the Lamb. And the angels and all of creation, who is worthy to open the scrolls and open the seals? No one but the Lamb. The Lamb is worthy. So when you come into the light, when you come into the love, these things are revealed and shown to you how to come into this the right way. Because if not, it says that if you're doing this the wrong way, it says you're a thief and a liar. Like, God is possessive with his secrets. Like, they're hidden for a reason, but it's in you to search it out and to know the right way. Light and love. Listen, I don't care what path you choose, Freemasonry, whatever craft, but you got to be a good person. You just do. If not, if you're doing spells and hexes and putting and summoning demons, scripture says, "Be ye not deceived."
It's all about intention, right?
Whatever you sow, that you're gonna reap. So let me bless my enemies. Let me pray for them that hurt me and despise me and wish me ill will. Like, you know, there's a reward in it if we do that. If not, there's repercussions. Don't repay evil with evil. This is telling you how to operate in that realm and how to do it the right way and tap in. It is so beautiful and so deep, man. But if we interpret it literally, it's going to mess us up. But you have to literally be a good person. Just be a good person. You know?
Do you think we're having an awakening with everything that's going on in the world right now? Do you think people are, I mean, because I see a lot of division personally, but I do see others who are awakening because there's been a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah. I mean, so, all right. So what's happening in me, for sure. What's happening in you guys and many people listening, they're having an awakening, for sure. They're looking up terms that we've been writing about and putting out for a long time. And how you doing? I'm Truth Seeker. Great to meet you. This is what synchronicity is. This is what angels are. This is what divination is in the Bible. You thought it was evil? No, they're finding our work because they're having an awakening. My stuff's blowing up right now. It is amazing. I'm so thankful. But it is only conducive as how much the people want it. If the people don't want it, they're not going to look for it. But people, if you seek, you'll find. So yeah, the planet is undergoing an awakening. And I think that the pushback that we're getting from our rulers or whatever, I think that is directly conducive to the spiritual awakening that the planet is going through. Yeah. If I have an ascension and I awaken and my neighbor awakens and the other guy down the street, and then two more people are submitting the love, and they're having encounters, and they're remembering who they are before they came here. They're choosing love. They're forgiving their enemies. Guess what? Now it's not just me having an ascension. It's my whole street.
And it goes into the collective. And the collective, everybody benefits from.
A rising tide raises all the ships. So yeah, the planet, worldwide, this is happening. So I think that what is happening is direct pushback. Now, is it all puppy dogs and unicorns? No, but this is the wrestling as we wrestle what's right and wrong and what's good and evil. You know, I go on podcasts all the time and I talk about these ideas, and people will say, well, there's so much division and racism and all of these bad things. I say, yeah, but we're making progress. We have to address it. We got to deal with it because there's going to be pushback. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars, but you know where the rumors of wars start? In here. And then we become clear on it. We got to look at where we're headed as a people. And it, like, again, what you look for, what you see reveals itself to you.
Do you think the answers are coming from above, maybe?
For sure. But
right.
Like, just look at where we are with so racism at an all-time high. I'm almost 40.
Right.
I don't look it. But I can't fathom. I can't fathom slavery.
No.
I can't. My daughter, her generation that's coming up.
Yeah.
No way. There's no way they can. I can't even fathom it, and they can't. But this was normal. These were things that were done that were normal.
Worldwide.
Women's rights, slavery, racism, like all of this stuff that was normal. Now we wouldn't be caught dead doing that. Yeah, we're getting an upgrade. We're looking back at that's the wrestling. Everything that's happening with us, it is happening astrologically with the globe. So the entire planet is going through an awakening, and we're choosing love, and we're all ascending together. And the more of us that do it, the more that the entire planet gets that upgrade too. So
I agree. I believe
it's
some
exciting.
I believe some are holding back. They're just a little bit frightened. I mean, I think people naturally fear what they don't understand, or if they don't know what the outcome is going to be, or what is the light at the end of that tunnel? Oh God, it's a train. Like you just don't know.
It's a demon.
Exactly. Yeah, or a demon. So people, they're a lot of people are have been raised to play it safe. It's okay. Just step over the line.
Yeah, right? It's not hard to love. Well, maybe it is hard to love.
It's about love. Maybe for some.
It is
maybe
hard to
for
love.
Some. It can be.
Because if it wasn't, everybody would already be doing it, right?
It's easier to hate than it is to love someone.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes less energy, believe it or not, to hate than to love, sadly.
Yeah, but there's resonance, and so as the majority are getting the upgrade, the rest of the people get the upgrade too. It's like, true. Okay, now your kids aren't racist anymore because this other state or the majority put that racism down. So now 2 generations from now, nobody's tapping into that. So these ideas, as we wrestle and as we war within ourselves, which again is the idea of the scriptures, to wrestle with judgments, wrestle with, should we keep doing that? I mean, there's and so it just gets deep. The layers get deeper and deeper. Women's right, should people considered second-class citizens or not human, or women being considered property at some point? Like, there's all kind of weird stuff.
Let's just hope that as we evolve, that becomes a thing of the past.
I think Canada's doing a great job of evolving, actually. I think as Canadians, we're a little bit lighter on the racist meter. We are more liberal and accepting, and we really do we only have 39 million people, but we're so diverse in our ethnicities. It's just normal. It's hard. You'll get the few that are still racist, and it could be because of, like you said, upbringing, but I'm turning 53 and I wasn't brought up that way. And I'm grateful. Thank God I wasn't brought up that way. And of course my daughter wasn't. And like you said, and so on and so on. But I don't know. I'm grateful for that here. Anyways, for living here.
The head. Let's just drink to that. So, but we are nearing the top of the hour already. God, we're going to have to do this again, I think. So tell everybody how to find you. Tell them about your book. Tell them about your music.
Yeah, we were talking. I'm a rapper.
There we go. That's easy.
Yeah. So for sure. Yeah, you can check out my work just at truthseekah.com, truthseekah.com. And so I wrote a book, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. I was blessed to have Jordan Maxwell write the foreword.
Wow,
and so
lucky guy.
That's for sure. That's amazing. I came out 2 years ago, but it's still, people are still finding it. And these concepts, everything that we talked about is in there,
right.
Okay. And so my music on YouTube, Facebook, all those places. anywhere that you type in that Truth Seekah, you'll find me, and I'm there. So
Oh, you are definitely an original in a good way. And I mean that in a good way. So that's fantastic.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it, man. I enjoy, different conversation and just different ideas. I love, not everybody's skilled at this art of conversation, I would say. And so
but
you guys
it
were
is like
awesome.
that, though.
Thank you.
Right? It's like you're sitting across from us and we're just having a parlay and just
and people get to sit in on it,
I know. Isn't it great?
Mm-hmm.
I know. I love it. Well, thank you. I will be in touch. I'll email you after the show with
thank you so much.
Numbers.
Enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Blessings. Thank
Hope
you.
Your daughter enjoys that concert. I'm so jealous of her. Tell her. Sure. I'm so jealous.
For sure.
All right, darling. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. Wow, that was a whole lot of fun, honestly. So we've come obviously to the end of another really fantastic segment. The chat room was on fire and people were just lighting up the different pages. So thank you all for that. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Truth Seekah. He's just awesome. Go check him out on YouTube. His music is really amazing. And hopefully we'll get him to come back again because he's really, really knowledgeable. So thank you to everybody in chat. You guys just make it that much better. And the questions and the comments are amazing. Huge thank you to Folgers Coffee, who sponsor us. We appreciate you so much. And Dr. Justin Snicker, thank you for your sponsorship of your voice and your music for our intro and outro. We appreciate you so much as well. Now, please remember, people, head on over to UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube. Check out the channel. Don't just subscribe, become a member. There's so much amazing stuff coming. You're not going to get to see any of it unless you are a members only section. You have to get in there. If you'd like to talk with little old us, of course, you can go show us some love on the Outer Realm on Facebook. But the only way you're going to be able to communicate with us, unfortunately, is at the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Again, the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Next week brings a whole lot more fun and 2 more new faces to the Outer Realm. I'm hoping I'm going to get this man's name properly. I'm French. I should know this. It's Jim Girard. Girouard. Girouard. I'm sorry if I pulverized it, Jim. I apologize. He's going to be discussing various things such as time travel, Bible codes. And I have to say, I've spoken with him when he first sent an email, and he's very intriguing. Very intriguing. So I think you guys are really going to dig this. Thursday evening brings, again for the very first time, a lovely gal, Nicole Antoinette. She is an angel communicator, and she's going to be discussing what it was like growing up with all of these abilities, but how she incorporated all of her experiences into what she does today. And you're going to have to wait to hear the segment in order to see what that is. So until then, Amelia and I wish you a wonderful weekend. And don't forget to catch Joe Montaldo and I this coming Saturday for another segment of the Gray Zone Uncensored, which you're not going to get an archive. Unfortunately, it is and always has been a members-only program. So that's 5 to 7 p.m. Central, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully we shall see you there. So have a great weekend. Good night, and thank you for tuning in.
You have been listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, airing live every Wednesday and Thursday evening 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Central on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.